जय हिंद, जय भारत एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। दिस इज आदि अचिंत। आइए समझें जियोपॉलिटिक्स को एक भारतीय नजरिए से।
So India has a mindset where it hits, it punches below its weight. We have to punch not above our weight. We have to punch not below our weight. We have to increase our weight and punch the post.
ये हमारा सिद्धांत है, हम घर में घुस के मारेंगे।
You know, victims of terrorism do not sit together with perpetrators of terrorism to discuss terrorism.
नमस्कार, जय हिंद एंड वेलकम टू डेफ टॉक्स। आज हमारे साथ हैं राजा मुनीब जी, जो हमको समझाएंगे पाकिस्तानी आर्मी ने एक फोपा करा है। ठीक है, इसको बोलते हैं ना फोपा। लेट मी जस्ट यूज अ लिटिल फ्रेंच। फोपा, पाकिस्तानी आर्मी ने बहुत बड़ा फोपा करा है। मैंने आपके साथ एक दो दिन पहले एक चीज बताई थी कि भाई चाइना को फंसाने की कोशिश कर रहा है पाकिस्तान। ठीक है, लेकिन एक जो ब्रेकिंग न्यूज आ रही है इज अबाउट एन एरिया कॉल्ड चित्राल। उसके बारे में बात करेंगे। वी विल टॉक अबाउट दिस अटैक विच इज हैपेंड इन कुलगाम, जहां पर हमारे दो सोल्जर्स को वो वीर गति प्राप्त हुई है एंड दे हैव एक्चुअली लॉस्ट देयर लाइव्स इन प्रोटेक्टिंग दिस नेशन। एंड वी विल टॉक अबाउट यूएस के सीक्रेट बेसिस। दो जगहों का मैंने नाम लिया था। I haven't told Raja ji this, that we will discuss this. So let me spring it on him and let's see what his reaction is. So Namaskar ji, thank you so much for joining
Namaskar,
us.
sir. Now you have started springing surprises on me also.
मैंने एक आपने मेरे पता नहीं वो देखा कि नहीं, but let me just break the news about the two bases. दो बेस हैं सर, ठीक है, जो बने हैं एंड इसके बारे में पता चला है कि भाई यूएसए हैज लिटरली सेड कि भाई ये दो हमको दे दो, we will kind of support you after that, you'll be fine, everything will be all right, कुछ होगा नहीं।
So
These
are
two
they
bases,
asking for
Balochistan,
two additional? They are asking two additional. Acha, now they are asking Balochistan. They
बलूचिस्तान
already have bases in Pakistan, na? They already
है
operate
सर।
कर तो रहे हैं। छह
ये
base
अभी
operate कर रहे हैं।
ये अभी ओपन है कि भाई आप हमको ओपनली आप बेस दे दो तो जरा हम कुछ काम करें, ताकि यू नो वी कैन एक्चुअली लेट यू गाइस काइंड ऑफ डू योर ओन शिट एंड वी डू आवर ओन शिट। तो उसके बारे में बात करते हैं। देयर आर टू बेसिस व्हिच हैव कम आउट and we will talk about them, but what I want to actually ask you is, पहले तो let's cover this कुलगाम area. Interesting है यार, कुलगाम का जिस जगह पे लोगों ने ऑपरेशन करा है आज आर्मी ने, it's on the main road.
नहीं, थोड़ा off है main road से. It's not on the main. See, the highway passes through that area, but it's a village which is off the highway. It's not on the highway village, it's off the village highway. See,
Yeah.
Kulgam, if you remember from 2018, 2019 has been very active. Now terror attacks bhi hue hain, you know, police post pe ek baar hua tha. There was a lot of movement of foreign terrorists at one point of time. From Kulgam till you know, Pir Panjal, Rajouri Punch की तरफ. I'm talking about 4-5 years back. कुलगाम के पीछे जो आपका दमाल हांजीपुरा है, या फिर आपका यू नो उसके ऊपर का जो एरिया है, उसके बाद जंगल, लिटरली जंगल शुरू हो जाता है. So it's a very you know, it's a difficult terrain, it's a forest jungle terrain, so it suits these TRTs very well. अपने आप को हाइड करने में, छुपाने में, you know, and they can literally then move. ये वहां से फिर पीर पंजाल की तरफ भी मूव करते हैं, और फिर यहाँ से इस साइड से ये लोग you know, they try to cross the Simtan Pass and get into Doda Kishtwar also. तो इनके लिए you know, it becomes kind of a central town kind of thing. तो कुल you know, because after 2018-19, you know, the hub was Pulwama and Shopian, but the kind of casualties they sustained, you know, they could not sustain in areas like Pulwama and Shopian. Almost every second day there used to be an encounter in these areas, and they were losing men. So then that, and then the local recruitment went down also. That was another reason. So you know, Kulgam became something which was kind of a hub of movement for these people. And Kulgam has been on the security radar for a very long time, owing to its topography and owing to its connections, you know, both on the south of Pir Panjal and on this side as well.
मैंने सुना ये एरिया हुआ है सर encounter. This is the area which has happened. I don't know if I'm right or wrong, but it's very close to the hospital.
I will not be able to pick it up from the map, but yeah, it's not very far from the hospital, but it's not on the highway also.
हाँ, वो ये मेन रोड है ना, ये जा रही है ऊपर से.
हाँ,
यही
ये जो
तो
ऊपर का हाईवे उसके पीछे वाला एरिया है. Yes. So this is what I'm saying. It becomes easier for them to get into Anantnag also. It becomes easier for them to get to this side also. So that is why this operation has happened there. And आपको याद होगा पिछले एक दो encounters और भी कुलगाम में हुए, शुपियां में हुए या कुलगाम में हुए. Basically on the periphery and शुपियां and कुलगाम हुआ था, जिसमें वो बासेदार मारा गया था. It is also on the on the almost on the boundary of Shupyan and Kulgam. So ये दो districts जो हैं ये अभी भी they are troublesome to some extent.
Sir, I mean, but one thing is there for a factor that, the 6 guys in one shot. Normally, क्या होता है, 2 terrorists killed. And literally about 200 of our chaps are there trying to figure out क्या हो रहा है and all that. CASO operations are not easy because you literally, आपका काम होता है कि भाई आप अपने आप को target present करो यार. I mean,
Actually,
उसका गेम ही वही होता है कि सामने खड़े हो के भाई you're trying to, ruffle up in the jungle so that कहीं ना कहीं you take fire and you can kind of respond back. But 6 बंदे एक साथ.
see, the local terrorists operate in a different way than the Pakistani terrorists. There is a distinction of operation between the two. Locals जो हैं, they don't draw the Indian army into the jungle warfare and try to then, what we have seen in Rajouri Poonch happening. इनका modus operandi different रहता है. ये presence ज़्यादा रखते हैं, action बहुत कम रखते हैं. And what I am ascertaining is from the ground is that this could be one group. ये 6 लड़कों का एक ग्रुप होगा, 4 एक साइड चले गए होंगे, 2 एक साइड चले गए होंगे, and human and tech in then would have picked them up, corroborated the location and then picked both the locations on, because it's not the first that we have seen multiple operations in a district. ये पहले भी होता था कि एक जगह शुरू हुआ, उसके थोड़ी देर बाद दूसरी जगह भी कासो लगा, और वहां भी कुलगाम में या शुपियन में ज्यादा होता था कि दो जगह पे एनकाउंटर चल रहे हैं, साइमल्टेनियस एनकाउंटर्स चल रहे हैं. सो आई थिंक ये एक ग्रुप था, एंड ये ग्रुप जो है ये बाइफरकेट किया होगा 4 और 2 में. That is what I'm thinking. I don't have any official confirmation on this, but as far as I think, because 6 के 6 local हैं, 6 के 6 they are saying या TRF और हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन के हैं, तो this could be one group which would have come down. 4 एक साइड चले गए, 2 एक साइड चले गए, पहले 2 फंसे, उसके बाद 4 फंसे. तो पहले छोटा ग्रुप फंसा, फिर बड़ा ग्रुप फंसा.
पर हमने ये भी सुना है कि टीआरएफ, पीएपीएफ, ये जो हिजबुल और लश्कर के बीच में प्रॉब्लम्स हैं. ये लोग एक दूसरे के ऊपर स्निचिंग करते हैं काफी हद तक. एंड इन लोगों का पिछली बारी भी 1-2 जगह पे इंफॉर्मेशन आई थी, बट इट्स वेरी डिफिकल्ट टू कोलैबोरेट दिस. बट कहीं ना कहीं डू यू फील दैट देयर इज अ इशू बिटवीन दीस ग्रुप्स? इसके अंदर कुछ ना कुछ गड़बड़ चल रही है उनके बीच में, बिकॉज दे हैव कंसोलिडेटेड देयर एफर्ट बाय दैट मुत्ताहिदा जिहाद काउंसिल, एमजेसी, जो बनाया है लोगों ने. एंड उसके अंदर इनकी रिक्रूटमेंट, इनका फाइनेंसिंग, ये वो काफी कुछ कर रहे हैं. ऑब्वियसली ये अपने आप भी बहुत कुछ करते हैं, बट डू यू सी एनी सॉर्ट ऑफ अ रिफ्ट बिटवीन दीस ग्रुप्स?
See, basically, after 2018 Balakot, there has been a realignment between Lashkar-e-Toiba and Jaish-e-Mohammed. Now, both these groups, Jaish-e-Mohammed कभी भी local जो recruitment है वो कभी नहीं करता. They would never do it. Same was the case with Lashkar-e-Toiba. But Lashkar-e-Toiba का ये रहता था कि there would be a Pakistani commander who would then come in and then he would have a loose group जिसमें हिजबुल मुजाहिदीन के भी रहते थे या लश्कर के भी 1-2 लड़के जो लोकल रहते थे वो रहते थे. But after 2019 अगर आप देखोगे, overwhelmingly वैली में लश्कर जो है वो लोकल रिक्रूट कर रहा है, लोकल लड़के रिक्रूट कर रहा है, और पीएफएफ जो है वो अभी भी इट्स ऑपरेटिंग समवेयर इन रजौरी पूंछ. यहाँ उसमें सिर्फ पाकिस्तानी टेररिस्ट हैं, फॉरेन टेररिस्ट हैं, उसमें लोकल टेररिस्ट नहीं आते. जीएमएम में बहुत कम आपको मिलेंगे कि सम लोकल इज ऑपरेटिंग विद इन जेईएम मॉड्यूल active. I'm not talking about OGW, but active. But they do have problems. Why do they have problems? The problems don't lie in Kashmir. The problems lie in Pakistan. जो पाकिस्तान की पॉलिटिकल सिचुएशन है, राइट, और जो उनका वो रीअलाइनमेंट ऑफ जहाद हो रहा है, जैसे हमने देखा कि हाफिज सईद एक साइड से मौलाना ये मसूद अजहर जो था, ही वाज आल्सो ट्राइंग टू रिक्रूट फॉर दिस कॉज, कश्मीर कॉज जिसको ये लोग बोलते हैं, राइट. इनके बीच में ऑलरेडी रिफ्ट तो है. अफगानिस्तान को लेकर रिफ्ट है, पश्तून्स को लेकर रिफ्ट है, राइट. तो जेईएम और एलईटी में थोड़ा सा जो है वो कहीं ना कहीं क्लैश तो है, विद इन पाकिस्तान तो है, बट is it resonating in Kashmir is something which is too early to say. Ki, they would have snitched on them or something. I think more than them snitching, it is the security grid. I've already.
Okay. We just hang on for a second, guys. Probably today the sound is all right, but he will join back. No problem. Just give it a second. But guys, the interesting thing is that the most important thing and the interesting thing is that the commanders are getting hit, and ये बहुत this is a very interesting phenomenon because मुनीब साहब से मैं सुबह बात कर रहा था. He was saying, कहीं ना कहीं ये लोग सुबह आते हैं, ये लोग ऊपर से नीचे आते हैं. So I asked him one particular question कि भाई ये ऊपर क्या होता है. So what he told me is यार इनके ना पहाड़ों के ऊपर ये बैठे रहते हैं कहीं केव शेव्स के अंदर. They keep sitting down. इनके 4-5 जगह पे ठिकाने होते हैं where they sit and they kind of sustain themselves for a little bit. But जब इनके supplies खत्म हो जाते हैं so they come down. And when they come down is the time when they are seen and they kind of get hit. But interestingly, जो चीज हमको दिखती है पिछले some time in my okay, he's back. Let me ask him this particular
Yeah, I'm
question.
so sorry.
No problem.
My
मैं
internet
एक्चुअली बता रहा था,
dropped off.
आपने सुबह जब मेरे को बताया था कि ये लोग ऊपर से नीचे उतरते हैं एंड दे कम डाउन फॉर सप्लाईज एंड स्टफ लाइक दैट. एंड द सेम मोडस ऑपरेंडी ये पाकिस्तान में भी होता है. टीटीपी वाले स्पेशली जो पेशावर के नॉर्दर्न बेल्ट में रहते हैं, दे आर अप इन द माउंटेन्स एंड व्हेन दे कम डाउन ये पकड़े जाते हैं एंड दे काइंड ऑफ गेट हिट और दे हिट द पाकिस्तानी आर्मी एज वेल. एक आधा अटैक करके फिर वापस ऊपर जाते हैं. Now, right now, when you see this particular thing which is happening, they've probably come down, but the kind of hit which is happening, in the sense, आप पिछले 4 encounter देखो sir. Every encounter their commander is getting hit. These are not tattoos that are getting hit. These are big guys. ठीक है. How do you see the big boys getting hit? Is that the consequence of the OGW network जिनके पिछवाड़े तोड़े जा रहे हैं इस टाइम पे कि क्या है? What is happening?
Yes, one is the OGW network जिसको पूरा इन्होंने डाउन किया हुआ है. ठीक है. There is very few local support coming in from the locals. दूसरा ये है कि we always say that the recruitment of the locals is down. So primarily जो theater है of this whole terrorism in the valley, it is being kept by these commanders only. ये commander चाहे फिर 1 साल पहले इसने join किया हो, 1.5 साल पहले join किया हो, he rises within the ranks very quickly. क्योंकि नीचे लोग नहीं है join करने के लिए, बहुत कम है. But what is a bit surprising for me is कि ये 6 के 6 local हैं. अभी इनकी identities reveal हुई हैं, 2 उसमें से शुपियन के हैं. So that it's giving me a trend कि थोड़ा सा कहीं पे शायद recruitment जो है वो फिर से start हुई है. क्योंकि ये नए लड़के हैं. They all are not the old ones, right? इसमें कुछ जो हैं वो नए हैं. तो कहीं ना कहीं there is recruitment happening on the ground. They are trying to recruit, and that recruitment is happening on the ground. That is something which which we will come to know more when their whole identities come out and when they have joined and all that. अभी तो पुलिस ने सिर्फ नाम दिए and उतना ही आया. हमारे पास डिटेल्स ज्यादा है नहीं अभी, especially वो 4 लोगों की.
आपने इस बारे में बात करी थी जब हमने बात की थी about राशिद इंजीनियर as well. You had spoken about this कि भाई गवर्नमेंट has tested कि भाई ग्राउंड में क्या सिचुएशन है, क्या दिख रहा है हमको, and you're able to see कि भाई कुछ ना कुछ अभी भी फीलिंग्स हैं which obviously need to be addressed. But ये ठीक है. Now Pakistan is actually trying to यहाँ पर थोड़ा सा अपने को भारत को बिजी रखने की कोशिश कर रहा है. But आपने जो आज एक चीज बताई about चित्राल, I think Pakistani army should be more worried about चित्राल में क्या हो रहा है, क्योंकि let me just leave this to you because it's आपने पूरी इसके ऊपर रिसर्च करी है. जरा बताओ चित्राल है कि क्या?
चित्राल will fall this year to Taliban. मैं पिछले साल से इस साल से बोल रहा हूँ, ये continuously बोल रहा हूँ. That was the first area to fall. Reason being, if you remember, even last time भी they came in hundreds, but then they vacated it. उस टाइम पे बात की थी इन्होंने अफगान तालिबान के साथ और they agreed to it. But अभी जो सिचुएशन है, करंट सिचुएशन है, it's very bad. दूसरा ये है कि the way Pakistani army is operating on the ground, they are not getting much success. इसीलिए आपने आज वो देखा होगा, एक वो नहीं मेजर जनरल वो खलील रहमान का एक बड़ा एंग्री वीडियो है कि अगर हमको सिविलियन को भी मारना होगा हम मार देंगे चित्राल में. Right, he's threatening the civilians there. Reason is that the Pakistani army tried to take out some target killings in Chitral regions, and the Chitralis are not very happy about it. वो civilians को hit किया उन्होंने, तो उसमें क्या हुआ कि वहाँ protest हुए बहुत. There was a lot of protest and a lot of anger in Chitral. तो उसको जाकर फिर they had to back off. Same thing happened in Dera Ismail Khan. इन्होंने कल ऑपरेशन लॉन्च किया, ये वो सक्सेसफुल नहीं रहा. दे हैड टू फायर अ मोर्टार शेल. वो मोर्टार शेल जाके विलेज में गिरा है. वहां पे 3 बच्चे मर गए, 3 kids lost their lives, 11 women were injured. So that is the number of civilians who have died there. So there is a lot of resentment in DI also. So Chitral ka problem yehi hai ki Pakistanis are trying their best, and also if you look at the Aga Khanis and the Ismailis and the Chitralis who live in that region, they are not very, very happy with the way Pakistani army is operating in Chitral. And they have given themselves, they're owing their allegiance more to the Afghan Taliban than the Pakistani army, because the area is neglected, it's far flung, a lot of issues with the area. So Pakistan is finding it very, very problematic, because why that is happening is because somewhere the Pakistanis were trying to assert ki, the theater of war they want to open against TTP. एक तो वो चित्राल में खोलते, और then they might have moved ISKP guys to that region to fight off the Afghan Taliban. Now, the Afghan Taliban already knows about it, and they understand their plan, and they have been very proactive in that region. और इसीलिए वो last year भी आ गए थे. They came in hundreds. They took that particular point. They captured it for एक डेढ़ महीना वहां बैठे रहे. उसके बाद फिर वहां से वो निकल गए. But मुझे लग रहा है कि इस बार फिर it's this time it's not going to go the Pakistan way. This is going to fall. This area will fall to Afghan Taliban.
वापस आएंगे?
क्योंकि नहीं, वो छोड़ेंगे नहीं, क्योंकि I think Chinese will be overly concerned, and Afghan Taliban would have made a deal with the Chinese, saying that we are going to keep this region very, very close. We'll protect you from this side. वखान कॉरिडोर को प्रोटेक्ट करना अफगानिस्तान के लिए भी उतना इम्पोर्टेंट है जितना चाइना के लिए इम्पोर्टेंट है. एंड पाकिस्तान वांट्स टू प्ले गेम्स इन वखान कॉरिडोर टू पुट प्रेशर ऑन चाइना अगेन, एंड उनसे पैसा लेने के लिए एंड उनको इन्वॉल्व करने के लिए. सो आई थिंक इस बार तो वापस नहीं जाएंगे. मुझे लगता है कि इस बार पाकिस्तानी आर्मी जो है दे विल नॉट बी एबल टू होल्ड ऑन टू चित्राल, एंड वी आर ऑलरेडी सीइंग साइंस ऑफ इट हैपनिंग ऑन द ग्राउंड.
बिकॉज अगर चित्राल पकड़ लिया इन लोगों ने, तो इनका जो गिलगिट बाल्टिस्तान का एक जो नॉर्दर्न एक्सेस रूट है, दैट गोज ऑफ कंप्लीटली. दिस इज द नॉर्दर्न मोस्ट एक्सेस रूट जो गिलगिट बाल्टिस्तान का है. And of course, after that, अगर चित्राल पकड़ लिया, these guys are also going to keep an eye, not really like physical eye, but they'll be able to keep an eye on ये जो Chinese के projects हैं वहां पर, जो हाइड्रो पावर प्रोजेक्ट्स हैं, ये हैं वो हैं, तो वो एक लेवरेज नहीं बन जाता चाइनीज के ऊपर अफगान तालिबान का?
लेवरेज तो नहीं बनता है, बट व्हाट आई एम सीइंग इज अ प्रोबेबल पार्टनरशिप इज हैपनिंग बिटवीन द चाइनीज and the Afghans. The Chinese have suddenly realized that the Afghans are to be trusted more than the Pakistanis. One, they are easy to buy off than the Pakistanis. Pakistaniyon ko paisa de ke bhi they keep on playing the games. The Taliban will not be able to do that. Their assessment of the region is bad, to be honest. To people I'm speaking, they're telling me that the Chinese assessment of Pakistan is extremely bad. They have not woken up to the reality of what is happening there.
Even now?
Right? Even now. Yes. I'm telling you, about 2 days ago, I spoke to somebody, and they said, even we are surprised that, the Chinese assessment is extremely bad when it comes to the Pakistan situation, current Pakistan situation. Either CCP doesn't want to listen to its researchers, or they're turning a blind eye to it, or they think that, because they have a very solid partnership with the Afghans, and the Afghans will be protecting their interests wheresoever, which might not be the case going in future.
वो तो यार पैसे आप अपने, आई मीन व्हाट आई हैव नोन दैट अफगानियों को इन लोगों ने $500 मिलियन दिए हैं. दे हैव गिवन $500 मिलियन टू द अफगान टू कीप द चीफ ऑफ ETIM हु वाज देयर इन द नॉर्दर्न एरियाज. उसको उठा के भी काबुल में लेके गए हैं लोग. दे हैव टेकन.
इन्होंने नांगार में भी आज ऑपरेशन किया ISKP के. फर्स्ट दे हैड, तालिबान हैड गिवन हिम एमनेस्टी. वो इनका एक लीडर था, उसको एमनेस्टी दिया था, बट आज GDI ने जाके ठोक दिया उसको नांगार में. He's been killed. Yeah. Because they were saying he was, organizing ISKP networks across the border and trying to move them up silently. So GDI ने आज ठोक दिया उसको, despite having amnesty from the main Taliban sitting in Kabul.
But जो चाइना को threat है साहब, is it really from Afghanistan Pakistan region की तजिकिस्तान से उसको threat है? Because कहीं ना कहीं जो ISKP है, which is जो पाकिस्तानी का टट्टू है इस टाइम पे, they are more focused towards southern Tajikistan.
Abhi, the threat is from Pakistan, The threat is also from Tajikistan, but Tajikistan का ये है कि because right now Pakistan need these Tajiks fighting the Afghan Taliban.
Yeah.
So they will not be concentrating on anything else. They will be looking at consolidate. So what Pakistan has offered them is that you take this over, you fight this, you take this over, you build this between Tajikistan and along this corridor till down, you take this area, and then they must have given them a lollipop कि फिर तो आप कहीं भी कुछ भी कर सकते हैं. So but वो lollipop काम तो करेगा नहीं. Tajiks would have fallen for that lollipop, but if you look realistically, if you look at the picture, it's never gonna happen. Nobody would let that happen. तो अभी के because Afghan Taliban will never let that happen. They were not going to give ISIS a stronghold in at least in their territory. तो होने का सवाल ही पैदा नहीं होता, right? And अगर वो उनकी territory में रख रहे हैं, इसका ये मतलब है कि then somewhere Afghan Taliban is very very weak. They're not able to hold on.
उसी के लिए तो बनाया ना.
हाँ तो
तालिबान ताजिकिस्तान.
हाँ तो उसको तो वो काउंटर कर रहे हैं. They are countering it with their own ideology. But ये है कि फिर that means essentially कि Taliban is not in power in Afghanistan, right? They're losing control, which is not good news. Which means then Afghanistan will go back into civil war. तो फिर तो पाकिस्तान क्या, फिर तो सबको खतरा है. Then the whole region becomes unstable. But I don't think it is that bad. And Afghan Taliban does understand that. Contrary to Pakistanis, trying to create a rift between Akhundzada and the Kandharis and the Haqqanis. The Kabulis and the Kandharis, वो तो हो नहीं रहा है. But ये है कि what is happening in the region is that Pakistanis are in deep trouble. And Pakistanis, I don't know if they realize it. Even if they realize it, see, the problem with Pakistanis, they live in shit, no? So they can't smell their own shit. They think it's normal. But the world understands what's stinking behind there. So they are stinking right now, and they're gonna stink more.
This is interesting. Because guys, देखो, let me just clarify some stuff for you. The problem is that there are so many splinter groups in these main groups. IS is a main head. इसके मैं आपको groups अगर मैं गिना दूं, Islamic State Tajikistan province, Islamic State Khorasan, Islamic State Hind, Islamic State Valaya, इनके बहुत सारे.
Islamic State Pakistan, ISPP, Islamic State Pakistan, Islamic State, then in your Maghreb,
then Baluch, ये sorry, यहाँ पर भी है ना एक, बांग्लादेश में भी एक है, वो क्या?
बांग्लादेश में JMB करके है. हाँ. उसके बाद आपका फिलीपींस में है.
So वो तो दूर हो गया है रीजन के, but this region area is there. और तहरीके तालिबान जो है वो भी 3-4 है. एक तहरीके तालिबान पाकिस्तान है. By the way, there is a तहरीके तालिबान Tajikistan. So what the Taliban does is, क्योंकि IS तालिबान के अगेंस्ट है, तो जहां पर उसको IS का खतरा दिखता है, वो एक तहरीके तालिबान खड़ा कर देता है उसके सामने कि भैया अब तू इसके साथ करे. एंड
तो अपने रीजन्स में वो उन्होंने अपने वो ये आई कॉल देम ऑफिसेस खोल देते हैं ये लोग ना. तहरीके तालिबान के ऑफिसेस हैं ये. So तहरीके तालिबान ताजिकिस्तान है, तहरीके तालिबान पाकिस्तान है. So that is basically to counter any internal threat which they face from these ISIS groups, no? And that's smart strategy.
Very smart.
I would say it's a very smart strategy.
On the ISIS part, it is a very smart strategy because इन लोगों ने जो एक उनका वो सनाउल्लाह गफारी है, he is there. वो कितना, she's what, 32, 33 years old, young chap,
33, 34 maximum.
वो है, वो कहीं पे बैठता है, खुनार में, नागराज में, इधर उधर घूमता रहता है. एक्चुअली खुनार में he keeps roaming around between that whole Pashtun belt, ऊपर नीचे जाता रहता है वो.
नहीं, actually he's not even there now. He is operating in from वो पाकिस्तान से ऑपरेट कर रहा है ना. वो उस कैंप से ऑपरेट कर रहा है जहाँ FC प्रोटेक्ट कर रही है जिस कैंप को. क्या नाम है सर उसका? Yes. बन्नू से नीचे आओ आप. क्या कहते हैं? I was telling you this during the day. मैं नाम भूल गया उस प्रोविंस का.
But वो एरिया तो बन्नू ही है ना.
हाँ, बन्नू के नीचे वहाँ वही बन्नू में. He is on the Pakistani side. He's not on the other side. Because
बन्नू में तो ट्रेनिंग हुई थी किसकी, ये जो रशिया में जाके दागिस्तान में भी अटैक हुआ, उनकी बन्नू में ट्रेनिंग हुई. जो पहले मॉस्को में अटैक हुआ था, उनकी भी बन्नू में ट्रेनिंग हुई. तो यहाँ पर एक काफी कुछ चल रहा है उधर पे. The issue is that, Pakistan is going out of control with regards to these groups. ये लोग literally they're ruling the roost. अगर आप बलूचिस्तान देखो, आज 4 अटैक्स हुए हैं बलूचिस्तान में within the past 24 hours. Now they can be small attacks कि कोई गोली चला के भाग जाता है, या कोई ग्रेनेड फेंक के भाग जाता है, या कोई गाड़ी पे कुछ करके भाग जाता है, कुछ करता है. All that is there. but there are random attacks which are taking place and it's very difficult to decipher किसने करा है जब तक कोई आके बोलता नहीं है भैया मैंने करा है.
Sir, last 4 or 5 months में in Pakistan, KP province only 780 attacks have happened. Now average निकाल लो कितने हो गए, दिन के 7 अटैक हो गए वो. And आप बलूचिस्तान के 4 अटैक बोल रहे हो, मैं 3 आपको केपी के गिना देता हूँ आज के.
हाँ,
जहाँ एक को गोली मार दी, एक को फायर, एक पुलिस वाले को मार दिया, एक कस्टम्स वाले को मार दिया, एक सिविलियन पे फायर कर दिया, राइट. सो
गाड़ी पे अटैक हुआ, एक सोल्जर को छोड़ दिया उन्होंने, हंसते थे इनके ऊपर, साला एक छोड़ के चले गए.
So on an average, Pakistan में 5 to 7 attacks per day is happening in this whole region of KP and Balochistan.
Interesting. Now, मेरे को आप ये बताओ सर, अभी ये सब तो इस रीजन में चल रहा है. चाइना बीच में फंसा हुआ है. He is trying to do a deal with Afghanistan to kind of calm this thing down. पाकिस्तान को वो धीरे-धीरे करके बैक ऑफ कर रहा है, but he really can't back off. ना कट जाएगी बुरी तरह से. अमेरिकन्स घुस रहे हैं अंदर. 2 बेसिस हैं साहब. I will throw the names out. You tell me if it's right or wrong. Kharian and Samugli in Balochistan. Now Samugli में एक airstrip already है.
There is an airstrip in Samugli.
ठीक है, वो airstrip है.
They're operating drones from there.
किसने बनाई है? वो एक अरब शेख ने बनाई है जो आके वहां पर शिकार करता था.
नहीं, ये ड्रोन्स भी ऑपरेट करते थे वहां से. They used to operate drones from that area.
तो अभी ये अमेरिकन ने जो बोला है कि वी आर डूइंग दिस इन्फेंट्री ऑपरेशन ऑफ काउंटर urban warfare and counter terrorism operation which is starting I think in the next 2 days or something like that. ये ऑपरेशन तो ठीक है. That operation means you're basically getting your troops in back again. In the garb of an operation, ये 2 बेस आप दोबारा ऑक्यूपाई कर रहे हो. ये क्या हो रहा है सर? Will the Balochis agree to it?
See, the interesting point is why are they looking at Balochistan bases? And the biggest question is US operates 2 type of bases. One is above 10 million base, the other is about below 10 million base. ये कौन सी वाली base है? वो देखना बड़ा important है. I don't think it is an above 10 million. That's a high value base. Then a lot of logistics is involved into that. This must be the lower base. Now, why do they want a base in Balochistan? And is Pakistan actually ready to give them a base? Because अगर पाकिस्तान इनको बलोचिस्तान में base देता तो चाइना का क्या? And then that explains that if they are giving a base to Americans, that means the Chinese are completely aligning themselves with the Afghan Taliban. They're relying on the right partner. Now, who are they betting their hedging their bet on in Afghanistan is different. Whether it's the Kabulis or the Kandaris, that we don't know that, right? But that means the Chinese are actually looking at a different game. So, us game mein to fir then Pakistan is going to get into trouble. But then Americans are not very, very stupid also. They would not want to get their boots down on the ground in this region at least. So I think they're poking the Pakistanis more. They're carrying an exercise. उसके लिए इन्होंने एयरबेस मांगी होगी इनसे. But I think it's to virtue signal the Chinese. I told you last time also that the Chinese virtue signaling is happening. सारा एडम्स का ये कहना कि बलूचिस्तान से ISKP ऑपरेट कर रहा है और ना आप ये बोल रहे हैं कि हमको बेस वहां दे दो. It's a big virtue signaling to the Chinese that wake up, get into the region, or else you're gonna lose this region, right? So I think that is a message they want to carry on this region to the Chinese.
The Chinese in?
The Chinese will not get in. What I'm hearing from some friends is that the Chinese assessment is very weak. Chinese will get in when the fire will be much bigger, and they will suddenly wake up one morning and realize that their whole investment is going down the fire and everything is getting burned down. So they will then come to salvage and firefight. That is what is looking at. Yeah, they have. Their assessment is extremely bad. They are over relying on Afghan Taliban.
I thought Americans were dumb.
No, the Chinese seem to see. I think Chinese does portray itself as a dragon, but they seem to be a very toothless dragon, because when a time comes to action, I think they develop cold feet. They don't want to involve themselves. So I think the time has come where you really want to ask the experts on our panels, so Chinese experts, is Chinese dragon a toothless dragon? That's a question which really needs to be asked. Or else I don't understand that how their assessment can be so bad.
Yeah, it's amazing, you know. On one part, they've taken over Laos completely. Agar aap dekho, today the news was that Chinese just own a new country now, which is Laos. They're playing the game
See,
with Sri Lanka.
they do it politically, they do, financially, they do. But when push comes to shove, now tell me something. If tomorrow something happens in Laos and they lose control, will they send their military in, like America
Nope.
used to do in Vietnam and all that? Then
Nope.
what good is your control for? That
Point.
means a very temporary control.
Point.
Because the Americans are somebody who are committed to sending their troops in. They will make a mess out of it. They made a mess out of Middle East. They made a mess out of Afghanistan. They will make a mess out of it, but they will make a mess at least. What will the Chinese do?
They'll run.
They will run. So that is what I'm thinking, that they are. I think they might be running from Pakistan, and they would rather see their BRI going through Afghanistan, through the
Yeah,
Wakhan
that's
corridor.
happening.
They'll find some.
That's happening.
So that means more shit. That means more problem for Pakistan, because then Pakistan becomes very irrelevant. And what happens to Pakistani military? The Americans are not giving them anything. They're surviving on these cheap Chinese military equipment, junk. Where are they going to get their military equipment from? So it's a very complicated situation what is happening in Pakistan. I think too early to call the shots. But one thing is for sure, that Pakistan is going to be a collateral this time. Before, Pakistan used to create collaterals. This time Pakistan is going to be a collateral damage on the great game, we can say.
बट मेरे को ये बताओ भी, यहाँ पर नाउ ये तो हम बात कर रहे हैं रीजनल पास की, एक और बीच में तो जंप कर रहा है ना रशिया. उसने आके बोल दिया भाई पाकिस्तान इज बेस्ट फ्रेंड.
Obviously, Russia will. Russia also. See, everybody understands the importance of Afghanistan right now, and because Pakistan is the factory, but of terrorism. But it's the environment which is conducive for terrorism to sustain is Afghanistan. It's not Pakistan, right? Owing to the history of Afghans and the wars they have been fighting, last 40-50 years they have been into turmoil, and then it's literally a region which somebody gets in, cannot get out of it. Yeah. They are very good with their turf. You can't defeat it on their home ground. They're undefeatable there, almost. So the Russians will also be hedging their bets on the Afghans. And Russia-Afghanistan relations at one point of time were very, very good, right? So Taliban understands that the importance of holding both Russia, US, and China and negotiating with them is going to make them more powerful. China already has accepted an ambassador for them. Russia will be doing the same, right? So they understand these are the countries which will get them international recognition as a political power. And that is what they aim for, to be recognized globally as a legitimate government, and give their foothold and some hope to the Islamic world that this is the new Islamic order which is going to come in if Afghan Taliban, or the way Taliban governs. They will be looking to emulate the same in Africa. Then they'll throw out from Boko Haram, they will throw them out and they will establish the rule there as well. So they have an expansionist mindset and they are going to work on it. But then what options Russia has? You can't have a war in Ukraine. You cannot have your borders. You can't have a hostile Central Asia towards you. Ultimately, you have to deal with them. The Americans are dealing with them. We are also dealing with the Taliban. Yeah, right? Everybody. The reality of today is that you have to deal with the person or with the power which is sitting in that country and managing that country, whether we ideologically like them or whether we don't like them. But realistically, the deal has to happen, and everybody is dealing with them, and everybody will deal with them for their own advantage. So the Russians are going to play them, and always, right? Russia has a big axe to grind against them. Russia has a big axe to grind. So why not? Why would they miss this opportunity? They are not going to miss this opportunity.
That's interesting.
So Afghanistan is again become the center of power because the Americans want their influence not to go away. The Chinese are overly relying, knowing that Pakistan has screwed up on them. Now the Russians also know that how important it is for them geopolitically also to maintain their own strategic depth or strategic grip on the region. So
Yeah.
suddenly Taliban's rate is worth a Bitcoin.
But let's kind of zoom out. Okay, let's look at this region from the moon. Let's you and I sit on the moon and watch what's happening. Okay, just give me a second. Let me just lay this out for you. You've got India, which is now something you need to handle, but something you can't understand how to kind of handle. Okay, Modi is starting to play some games. Russia जा रहा है, ये जा रहा है, वो जा रहा है, and all that. So you got a little bit of a challenge here. But you can't address this challenge right now because you got a bigger one. The US has
Hmm.
itself claimed that all its bases in Europe and Middle East as well as Northern Africa are under threat. Charlie threat.
Hmm.
Charlie threat is like
Hmm.
DEFCON, DEFCON 2. DEFCON 1 is war. I mean, it's that bad.
Yeah.
Now, you're saying that, and you're very clearly saying that these threats are mostly emanating from the ISIS. ठीक है, so ये एक situation आप देख लो. So the Americans are
That's
more
what the
interested,
that's what the Americans are saying.
are saying at the moment. Let's take
Hmm.
that as face value. कोई बात नहीं.
Let's take that at face value.
I don't think it is real. I think they're trying to play a game to kind of there's gonna be a big ISIS attack somewhere or the other. It's gonna be either in America, Europe, Russia, China. I don't know. Somewhere one big ISIS attack is gonna happen, and the Americans are trying to kind of brush it off from their conscience. We have nothing to do with it. I don't know where it's gonna happen, but something big seems to be kind of brewing. So this is that the Americans are interested in this area and they don't know what to do about it. You've got Iran, which is now getting in a more moderate sort of a president. He's
Hmm.
talking about removing the hijab and this and that and and all that. I don't know what's his political outlook. I have not really kind of dwelled into it, but you've got some sort of a change which is happening there, and that guy is not going to sit there with the Ayatollah not approving of it. So कुछ हो रहा है वहां पर. You've got the Saudis that are playing a game. A lot of people believe that dollar gaya. I don't believe so because the Saudis are doing massive negotiations with the US for a nuclear bomb. We know
But
that for
dollar
a
is
fact.
there to stay.
Yeah, it's not going anywhere right now. Not at the
It's not
moment.
going.
It's not
Not.
time. Jayega. But in the middle of all this stuff, you've got these two bloody mad countries, Afghanistan and Pakistan, who can literally break apart any moment. There's so many forces pulling them at each other's tug. But between that, also, Afghanistan seems to be a little more stable. Here is Pakistan. You've got Sindhu days risen up. You've got Balochistan risen up. KPK is gone. As a matter of fact, what Mariam said, what corridor of terror.
Hmm.
चित्राल आपका गिलगिट बाल्टिस्तान पीओजेके में पैसे पूसे खिला के भी लोगों को ठंडा कर रखा है. How far you'll be able to do that, I don't know. They launched a so-called operation where they landed up to the Americans and said, थोड़े हथियार दे दो. ये तो this is a bloody ticking time bomb here, yaar. ये तो, I mean, I don't want to say it, but the demise of Pakistan is sooner than we think. Because the geopolitical force of this region, which is pulling everything apart. And all I think is that tug of war is tied to Pakistan's neck. So I don't see any other conclusion from this.
The demise of Pakistani establishment is sooner than we think. Because a new order which will come to Pakistan after the demise of Pakistani establishment will be very soft Taliban, we can say. The soft Taliban is already there, but it will be an extension of Taliban sitting in Afghanistan. Because certainly what has happened is, Afghanistan was a theater of war. And Pakistan was very, very strategically important to sustain that theater of war. Now the tables have turned. Now Pakistan is becoming the theater of war and Afghanistan is becoming strategically very, very important to sustain that theater of war.
Yeah.
So do you see the shift that has happened? So that shift dictates that whatever now, the Pakistanis always played this game that once the theater of war ends, we'll have a huge strategic depth inside Afghanistan. The Pakistanis were never able to maintain, to achieve or acquire that kind of depth. But on the contrary, the Afghans will be able to do that. Why? Because one large part of KPK and all those already align with them. The Pashtuns are very angry with the Punjabis of Pakistan, right? So that alignment of strategic, you can say, cultural and political shift, and then Pakistan is highly radicalized as well. I remember when their economy was about to go bust, there was this, I've said this many times, there was this interviewer who was going door to door, shop to shop, asking people ki kya hai, and then they say we are not Islamic enough, that is why Allah is punishing us. तभी हमारा ये हाल है. अगर हम इस्लामिक कंट्री होते तो हमारा फाइनेंस जो बेटर होता, right? And a lot of people are actually looking at Afghanistan. Look, Afghanistan has no official economy, yet their currency is stronger than what the Pakistani currency is in today's date. Amazingly.
Some idiots say it's stronger than
Amazingly.
India, but I don't buy it.
No,
That's
it's
stupid.
not. But amazingly, it's stronger than Pakistani rupee, right?
Yes.
So a lot of people will be looking at that and saying, hey, without a official sustainable economy, if they're able to achieve that, if they have the ways and means to get to that, they can actually do wonders. So a lot of people will be looking at making money in Pakistan. Economically, they'll be looking at the viability of Taliban ruling Pakistan as well. Right? They will not be averse to that. So the demise of Pakistani establishment is coming very, very soon. And with the demise of establishment of Pakistan, then the demise of Pakistan is the next step which comes in.
So this is an interesting comment before I take my last question with you. He said, imagine ISI watching this show and scratching their head and says, who gives a fuck about Pakistan? No one. Well, they do watch. By the way, let me just announce this on when you're here. Our last video got demonetized, by the way.
Oh my God, why? What happened?
यार जब ऐसी बातें करोगे, जब आप लोगों की पोल पत्तियां खोलोगे, उनके अंडरवेयर निकाल के पिछवाड़े पे लाते मारोगे, तो फिर ये होगा. ठीक है. जब आप CIA की एनालिस्ट के ठिकाने लगाते हो ढंग से,
तो फिर से होगा सर. थोड़ा सा तो हमको झेलना पड़ेगा.
ठीक है.
तो प्राइस वी पे फॉर यू नो.
फाइन सर, मेरे को फर्क नहीं पड़ता, बिकॉज
नहीं पड़ता.
This is the game. You have to play the game. And sadly, we don't have our own platform. So I mean, imagine this. And I salute the Americans for this. Let me just say this openly. You know, no matter what you say, boss, they've given me this platform to sit here in my freaking bedroom and abuse them on their platform. Right? That's what the Americans are. So you must understand they're very strategic in nature. You can call them fools about it, but they know what they're
not fools. They're not fools. They rather give them their own platform for you to come and abuse them than you having your own platform and abusing them and the world coming and watching you on your platform.
Yeah.
You rather, that is how it should be. That is how it should be played.
Exactly. So I just thought, मैं भूल गया था. मेरे को जब आपने ये बात करी है, मैं बोला, oh shit, let me just say this. Last video got demonetized, and मैंने काफी कोशिश करी, पता है. I put in polite videos. मैंने उसका thumbnail change करा, हमने ये करा, वो करा. They said नहीं भाई.
They realized that it is something.
मैं चलो कोई बात नहीं, छोड़ दो यार, जाने दो इसको. So I said, cheers. Okay, my last question to you, Sab. ये जो the entire game which is now opening up in this area, how do you think, what are we doing? Because हम चुप तो बैठने वाले नहीं है. This is the prime time for, if we are doing it, let me put that caveat, unknown gunmen to kind of find their targets. Prime time hai. You won't get a better opportunity than this, because when you're in chaos, you find the chaps and you bloody start knocking them off. And you've come up to about the fifth rung leadership of the MJC. MJC is MJC. It's big. Fifth rung leadership of LET and all that is bump. But fifth rung leadership of the MJC is pretty big. What do you think is going to happen? Are we going to look at creating some sort of a leverage? कुछ ना कुछ करने की कोशिश करेंगे? Do you think it's the right opportune moment? Let me not ask you what we will do, but let me just ask you, do you think this is the right opportune moment for us to kind of get our...
I think yes, because I'll tell you why. When you talk about MJC, when you talk about UJC, now what is happening is that Salahuddin has passed his prime. And there is a lot of internal fight on who's going to become the next commander of UJC, who's going to replace Salahuddin, right? And there are a couple of contenders. The most powerful of them is Amir, who will try to do that. So I think, and with the turnaround happening, these guys are young. They have been, much younger than what Salahuddin is. So they are looking at sustaining their own operations in this part in a different way. And we will have to look at how to get, our leverages down, right down to where, they don't get the upper hand. And chaos in Pakistan suits everybody. It suits us. It suits everyone. It suits Afghans. It suits Chinese. It suits Americans. So everybody is up for grabs. And the way Pakistani, paramilitary is corrupt, and they're up for hire is amazing, right? So I think yes, whatever game we are playing, I think we'll continue to play that. But we will have to be very, very careful of this. How much hold ISKP gets into Pakistan, and where does that lead to? Because I think that is something which we have to be very careful. Because uh, it is not the Pakistani border which is the threat; it is the Bangladeshi border which is the threat in the coming 1 to 2 decades, and that is where where we have to be extremely careful about.
This Pakistan is coming this way, right?
The Pakistanis are coming that way. This is a global jihad now happening. The global organizations are involved. It's no longer Lashkar-e-Toiba. It's not going to be Jaish-e-Mohammed. It's going to be, Al Qaeda. It's going to be ISIS. And when the global organizations are in play, the dynamic changes, right? It's very difficult to nail a particular country or a particular journal or a particular somebody sitting in ISI and point a finger directly saying that no, you are responsible. It has a lot of shades of grey into it, and especially if they're coming from Bangladesh, then it becomes very, very easy for Pakistan to say it's your other neighbor, it's not us, right? Look at your eastern front, not at a western front. So I think that is where we have to be extremely careful. It's going to brew up. We have to be extremely careful of that.
Guys, जरा like करो वीडियो को यार. 884. I think we can do more than that. We got 50% likes almost, but I think we need to go 75%. Yeah, just hit like, because I'm sure they will demonetize this one as well because of what we're talking about. Well, damn doesn't make a
No, I
difference.
don't think so. I think it suits the Americans what we are talking about. This is exactly what the Americans want. So it's in their favor. They should be happy, and they should, in fact, push this video more and more out and make it viral. It's in their favor.
Push this in Pakistan more.
They should push it more and more.
Because every time we guys talk like this and stuff like that, my Afghan friends अगले दिन phone करके बोलते साहब मजा आ गया. They always, or you'll get 2-3 messages and say, "Hi, I am from
Realistic
Afghanistan.
when it comes.
Love their video."
No, and I think they're very realistically looking at the picture also, because some of the comments even I find of Afghans, make a lot of sense when they talk about stuff.
Yeah. I think
sensible people.
The Afghan videos are more sensible than some few half a percentage rational Pakistani that you will find writing a comment.
Very true.
I would say 70% of the Afghan comments are more rational, and I do get a lot of emails from them, Twitter messages and this and that. So, so guys, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and of course, yes, share this, friends and family, most importantly. And of course, yes, if you can contribute towards this channel, please do so using the QR code, या फिर PayPal, या फिर super stickers, super chats, or you can become 700 plus members. The race is to 1,000. We are also at 242,600 odd subscribers. So we got another 7,500 to go. Let's see if things go well. I don't know when. I'm not putting any target date, because every time I do that, it goes to the fan and it splatters around the room. You know what happens. So let's take questions. Sabse pehle, I want to acknowledge a couple of members. One is Kushji and second Vivekji. Thank you, both of you, for becoming members. You got Parthaji, who says, how do you see Mr. Putin's statement, Russia and Taliban are united against the ISIS? CIA version of Pulsagi Pulse?
Very true, because the Russians do understand that it's a threat which is coming from Pakistan at the behest of CIA. And they will have to see a lot is going to change if Trump comes into power. That is why what we are seeing in US is happening is that suddenly I think the deep state has woken up and said that they need Trump, because their military industrial is not working, nexus is not working, and they want somebody to come out and balance that, for America to come back and restore whatever they are losing badly, wherever they are losing badly. I think they would want a new war somewhere, but they would want to balance out things happening in US also. So Russians are up against them, and the Russians and that is what I'm saying. To basically पहले क्या होता था ना कि पाकिस्तानी आईएसआई हर एक से पैसा लेती थी कि नहीं, ये अफगान मुजाहिदीन आपके उधर कुछ नहीं करेंगे, अलकायदा आपको हिट नहीं करेगी, इसको हिट करेगी. अब थिएटर जो है वो चेंज हो गया. Now it's the Talibanis who are telling Russia that okay, we'll take care of your border also. They're telling the Chinese will take care of your ATM also. And we will Tokofy Pakistan. पहले होता था कि we'll Tokofy Afghanistan, now we'll Tokofy Pakistan. So yes, that is absolutely right.
True. युवराज जी, थैंक यू सो मच. यूट्यूब में बैठे हैं कुछ लोग लेफ्टिस्ट डिमोनेटाइजर. रहने दो यार, छोड़ दो, कोई बात नहीं.
That's okay. It's doesn't matter.
Ranga Roxy asks, what kind of people do they hire for a commander level kind of position?
Yeah, it is not something where you have to read books and you have to go through a course. You don't. I don't know who you are asking about. Which commander are you talking about? The Kashmir thing?
Their commander, terrorist commander.
हाँ नहीं, मतलब कहाँ के लिए, कश्मीर का पूछ रहे हो या कश्मीर का? यार कुछ नहीं है. देयर इज नो हायरिंग ऑफ कमांडर. ये है कि बिकॉज द रिक्रूटमेंट इज सो लो, वो 6 महीने पहले ज्वाइन करता है तो वो, क्योंकि वो सीनियर हो गया तो वो कमांडर बन जाता है. और वैसे भी कश्मीर का अगर आप टेररिज्म की प्रॉब्लम देखोगे ना, कश्मीर में कभी भी सोल्जर नहीं होता था, हमेशा कमांडर ही होता था. चाहे फिर वो मोहल्ला कमांडर था या एरिया कमांडर था या कुछ था, वो हर टेररिस्ट अपने आप को किसी न किसी कमांडर के नाम से ही बुलाता है. देयर इज नो फुट सोल्जर इन कश्मीर. दे नेवर हैड दैट.
That's interesting. Naughty Tube says, आदि चित्राल में चित्रौल हो रही है. अभी तक चित्रौल actually हुई नहीं. They've just occupied that main road. They're basically two nerve centers of Chitral area, and the second nerve center is like not a nerve center. उसके अंदर वो एक ही road है which goes inside, and if you sit on that road, the entire area gets cut off, because otherwise you have to go up some bloody 15,000-16,000 foot mountains and come down, which is very difficult.
Which is not going to happen. One second thing, I think they are strategically maintaining their dominance, area dominance. अगर आप देखोगे, the TTP has more area dominance than the Pakistani army. KP में they are setting up checkposts at night. TTP वाले checkpost set करते हैं, गाड़ियां चेक करते हैं, लोग आ रहे हैं, लोग जा रहे हैं. So area dominance अगर की बात की जाए तो वो TTP के पास ज्यादा है. Pakistani army is not able to have that area dominance.
जी. आयुष झा जी कहते हैं, Pakistan will collapse in some decades. Now pressure from two fronts. I wanted to correct him on this. Firstly, it's not decades, it's going to be a couple of years. Secondly, it's not two fronts. They've got two fronts inside Pakistan. Forget outside.
They have a two and a half front inside Pakistan. Then the external fronts are different. They're fighting at 5.5 fronts.
Yeah, 5, 6, 8, 10. पता नहीं कितने front हैं इनके. Jai Krishnan ji कहते हैं, why is there enmity between IS and Taliban?
It's basically, if you look at IS is a Salafist organization. Taliban is the Ikhwan movement, extension of Ikhwan movement, the Deobandi movement. They follow Sayyid Qutb. ISIS का different है. So basically, इनका जो the jurisprudence, Islamic jurisprudence में the way of governing and the way of operation or the way of life of जिसको आप बोलोगे, उसमें इनका rift है. And both of them have large appeals across the globe in their own political spectrum. The Salafis are on one side, the Deobandis have been on the Ikhwans have been on the other side. तो इनका जो है काफी टाइम से क्लैश रहा है, और सऊदी अरेबिया से क्लैश चलता आया, right? Arab world में ये क्लैश रहा है, and that is why they have immunity between themselves, because they don't, they're ideological cousins basically. They're cousins up, the two cousin brothers following one particular sect of what you call Islamic sect very closely. अगर आप हनफी Wahhabism को समझोगे, Wahhabism को पढ़ोगे, you'll understand that where this whole rift comes from between the two.
Yeah.
That actually, your question actually warrants a complete podcast onto it to explain. I'm just trying to address it on the top.
We should do this. Yeah. We should do this sometime. I'll have to figure out how to kind of term it on YouTube, because the minute I type ISIS, it's going to get...
Yeah, it's going to be a lot of Islamic history and all that into it.
Dharma Rakshit ji, thank you so much for your contribution. Ranga rocks up once again. He says, "What kind of attacks do these terror groups make on locals? Who do they hire with basic training compared to their Pakistani army hires?" It's a deep type question.
What kind of attacks do these terror organizations make? The locals do what they hire. Okay, so see, there are two fronts of. There are two ways of Pakistani terror organizations are operating in the valley. One is the local recruits. Now, local recruits are made to hire the soft targets. ठीक है जो सॉफ्ट टारगेट्स हैं जैसे कि जो पॉलिटिकल किलिंग हो गई या माइनॉरिटी किलिंग्स देख रहे हैं वैली में हुई थी यू नो द शूट आउट्स हैपेंड इन 2021 they attacked a tourist in Pahalgam. So these are the things which the local terrorists are one who actually go ahead and do these killings. If you look at the more hardened attacks which happened on the army or you know what we have seen in Riyasi and all that, these are the ones which are carried out by the Pakistanis terrorists. दूसरा हायर का ये यार हायरिंग तो नहीं होती है दे आर नॉट somebody who are you know hired like that. They're somebody who ideologically go and mix with them, so you can call it hiring. But then basically radicalized people in the valley who think that it is just still there, you know, there is some portion of sympathy left for them, and that is how they carry on the attacks. The locals का यही रहता है कि because you know and locals are not very hard trained also. बेसिक उनको ट्रेनिंग देते हैं ये लोग, चाहे वो जंगल में दे दें. कई बार हमने वीडियोस देखे कि वो घर में बैठ के दे आर लर्निंग टू you know learn how to fire a pistol or how to fire a gun. So it's a local trained. पहले तो ये पाकिस्तान जाके ट्रेन होकर आते थे. There was a time in 90s when they used to go to Pakistan, across the border, come back. But now we have seen that largely they're locals based, trained, very poorly trained, can't sustain an encounter for a very long time. But that is how it basically operates in the valley.
That's Angry Hanumanji, thank you. He says China to Pakistan equal to Bevkuf dost se acha intelligent enemy.
Intelligent enemy, or look, in geopolitics there is no dost, there is no enemy.
That's a very deep comment that he's given.
So an intelligent enemy is important. Yes, you know, ideologically everybody is an enemy, but then बेवकूफ दोस्त तो नहीं आप पाकिस्तान को बोलोगे. पाकिस्तान इज मतलबी दोस्त, और मतलबी दोस्त बड़ा डेंजरस होता है, you know. So that is where Pakistan is today. So I think you're right, Angry Hanumanji, on that thing. They would bet on the intelligent enemy than on the foolish friend they have, who has been, you know, giving them runs around for 2 decades now.
That's an interesting answer actually that you've given. Yuvraji, thank you. He says, sir, चित्राल में क्या हुआ? Please tell. Nothing in news. मैं बताया सर क्या हुआ, उसकी मेन रोड ब्लॉक कर लिया. न्यूज में जिस दिन आ गया सर उस दिन हमारे जैसे चैनल बंद हो जाएंगे, एक्चुअल में बंद हो जाएंगे.
There's a lot happening in Chitral for a long time. काफी टाइम से चल रहा है वहाँ पे. Pakistanis are trying to carry out operations, gain ground. Afghan Taliban is not letting them do that. Pakistani is harassing the locals there a lot. They're trying to hit the local leadership there. वहाँ local leadership पे पाकिस्तानी आर्मी जो है उनको टॉर्चर करना चाह रही है, उनको अटैक करती है. एंड रिसेंटली भी वैसा ही एक इंसिडेंट हुआ है जिसपे काफी रिएक्शन आया है, वहाँ लोगों ने काफी प्रोटेस्ट किया. अनफॉर्चुनेटली यू नो ग्लोबल मीडिया जो है वो पाकिस्तानी न्यूज कैरी आउट करती नहीं. It's very unfortunate that we don't see news coming out of Pakistan. It's very difficult to get news out of Pakistan.
यहाँ पर एक साइकिल का टायर पंचर हो जाता है ना तो बीबीसी में आ जाता है.
हाँ सर, वो बीबीसी फिर वही है ना कि वहाँ का यहाँ और वहाँ में बहुत फर्क है.
Rajmanti ji asks, what is the possibility of IS cells popping up in Europe? We're already seeing Islamic group rising in France, Germany, and of course the UK.
They are popping up in Europe. They already have sleeper cells in Europe. If you look at the ISIS attacks, which are very small attacks, you know, lone wolf attacks, जिसको हम कहते हैं, they are happening all across Europe. Have happened in Europe during the जब Israel और Palestine का conflict start हुआ, you know, that time also threat level went up. So yes, there is presence of ISIS people sitting in Europe, sitting in Western world. But how effective they are going to be vis-a-vis what we are seeing is an organized ISIS module which is operating in Russia is a comparative you will have to draw. If the European intelligence services are slack and they don't follow up well, then obviously the magnitude of the attack can be much bigger. But I think they're doing a good job. France is
Oops. You're back. France is?
I said France is actually doing a good job on it, no?
Yeah. Absolutely. Jai Krishna ji कहते हैं where Pakistan is going to get more bheek, IMF, China, and up to what time? IMF will keep giving.
IMF deta rahega. The Americans have found a good way to now, keep a drip on in Pakistan. IMF ke through, loan ke through unko chalate raho. Chinese have basically given them money for this operation, Azme Istikham ke liye. I don't think the Chinese will keep on funding them if they realize that their objectives are not being met. China, मुझे नहीं लगता कि काफी, क्योंकि if you remember that rail project, China has backed off.
Yeah, ML1.
ML1 पे $6.7 billion का था, वो पाकिस्तानियों ने बड़ा ख्वाब दिखाया था उनको, तो वो भी Chinese back off कर गए उसमें से भी. So I don't think China is going to put a lot. China would rather divert this money to Afghanistan and Afghan Taliban than give it to the corrupt Pakistani army.
Ji.
Yeah, but the US will keep on giving the money. US has strategic interest in the region. Until those interests are met, IMF ke through, they'll be giving the money.
Sumaji says PM Modi's security must be a priority as he's going to Russia. This is not appreciated by the deep creep. We need to take care of our leadership. That's true.
Well, I think the men who do the job are doing an excellent job.
Yeah. Venkataraman Rao ji, thank you. I'm seeing some handles in X that are stating Kashmir is going back to 2016-17 era. They're so-called nationalist handles, idiots who know how to sabotage inside. How to handle this threat?
No, I think that is that is an outrageous claim to say they're going to 2016-17 era. Nothing of that is happening. Yes, you will see a spike of activities happening in J&K. It's already expected. So just because you're gonna have a spike in terror doesn't mean you have insurgency back. There are two different things. Insurgency is not coming back. Yes, terrorism is going to have a bit of a spike in the valley.
MS says ये वीडियो या इन सब टाइप के चैनल के वीडियो देख के तो घर के बाहर लोगों से बात करके ऐसा लगता है कि लोग अभी भी 50 साल पीछे ही चल रहे हैं. सबको बोलो सब्सक्राइब करें डेफ टॉक से.
Awareness is important.
Yeah, last one, Subbu Saab, thank you so much, sir. Why not the BJP is organizing campaigns to spread awareness in villages and towns and cities? When we all know the facts. A pretty political question, sir, but मैं आपको ये बताऊं.
What awareness are we talking about? First of all, is what I would like to know.
Exactly. I was just going to say that.
That's a very political outreach. I think the political outreach is always there. So, is there any specific awareness we are talking about here?
Absolutely correct. And guys, please understand these. What we spoke about today. A lot of people will say, "Yaar, आप कहाँ से बात कर रहे हो, क्या कर रहे हो," and all that stuff. Please understand the kind of stuff that we are talking about here. A lot of people will not be able to follow even. And I'm not saying that out of arrogance. I'm saying that out of a lot of deep study that we guys do. Even I make mistakes. As a matter of fact, let me just say that in the open. I said 8 terrorists in the morning. I was corrected by Rajaji and he said 6. And I put my comment there. Guys, it's not 8, it's 6. ठीक है? Encounter चल रहा है. Encounter चल रहा है. कल सुबह तक 8 हो गए तो ठीक है.
नहीं, encounter खत्म हो गया. They're over.
नहीं, वो ऑपरेशन राजौरी में सर्च ऑपरेशन चल रहा है ना.
They opened fire on an army camp and then they went back. I am not very hopeful that they'll be able to fight.
More or less, they tried to divert the game, I think.
They wanted to divert the game basically.
थोड़ा सा कितने हैं, इसको जरा इधर पे करो, उसको उधर पे करो. Let's kind of figure this out. But the most important thing is that we need to keep a track of these damn groups, because the problem is not from Pakistan. The problem is from these groups, because these guys are capable of doing stuff. The Pakistani military today is not capable of doing stuff. They don't have the manpower for it. They might have the funds or the willingness to do it, but इनके पास दम नहीं है करने का. ठीक है?
See, the enemy which is ideologically driven is far more dangerous than an enemy which is driven by economics. Please understand that. So these are ideologically driven enemies, and they're far more dangerous than the economically driven, Pakistani army. I don't want to call names, but that's okay. I want to
So
keep it civil.
let's end with a joke. Haider Saab from Balochistan says, "Sir, should India help Pakistan by giving them the 90,000 pants back?" Sir, might I correct you? It's 93,783.
Look, no, look, no amount of pants is going to save the Pakistan's underwear. It's already coming off. So, choice is yours.
Absolutely. Absolutely. To end the show on a happy note, interesting note, guys. By the way, Pakistan is going down. That doesn't mean the threat is off for us. Please
The threat
Google the
increases.
yeah. Please
The
Google
threat
the
increases. Threat doesn't go down; it increases to us. It's an
yeah
increasing threat.
yeah. Google the ISIS magazine. And you can connect it to the kind of sweeping operations that Indian Army is doing, which is basically to kind of clean house. जो भी इधर उधर हैं, जो इंटेलिजेंस वाले नोटिस कर रहे होंगे, जो कमांडर्स हैं, जो कुछ फैसिलिटेट कर रहे होंगे, sometimes the intelligence kind of keeps it there to observe, find the networks and this and that, because you can kill a chap, but then the network is still open. So you kind of observe these guys for some time. But today, right now, what I can see is, yeah, intelligence to kar hi rahe hain, but they're sweeping house. They're cleaning house because probably our agencies are expecting some big nonsense to happen within our
Yeah.
neighborhood. So it's something that I foresee. I don't know if I'm right or wrong. I don't have any way to kind of put that across, but 2 plus 2, 4. Rajaji, always a pleasure talking to you. I think Sunday nights are
Thank you, sir.
becoming more and more interesting, sir. Courtesy you. Jai Hind,
Thank
Jai
you, sir.
Bharat.
Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.